I truly believe that pork steak is one of the best introductory meals for the new home cook. This cut of meat is like a proverbial canvas for all sorts of different flavors. It's super cheap and, best of all, it comes together in less than 30 minutes on a weeknight. But before I get to the recipe, I want to talk a bit about why I think more people should be buying this. Skip to here for the recipe. In the first place, it's simply one of the best flavor to dollar bargains you can get at the store. This steak, and I do call it a steak, frankly tastes better than almost any beef steak in your supermarket. Look, for over twice the price, my store was selling eye of round steaks. This cut has the consistency of shoe leather when cooked like a steak, though they do make amazing beef jerky. Or how about top sirloin, which is not much better at $10 per pound? For a rough equivalent to pork steak, New York strip sells for nearly 4 times the price. And a mediocre ribeye will normally set you back more than $17 a pound. It's for this reason that I only buy beef steak on special occasions or when, like here, it's on sale. But wait, I hear you say. You aren't being fair. You're comparing pork to beef. Of course it's going to be cheaper. It's not a fair comparison. That may be true, so let's compare apples to apples. I purchased a pack of pork chops, which they were selling before this great sale for $5.19 a pound, a whole $1.30 more than the pork steak. So what do we get for this $1.30? Just look at this intramuscular fat. The pork chop has very little fat in the meat, while the pork steak has streaks of fat running through the meat. What this means is that the chop needs to be cooked, much like chicken breast, to a very specific temperature. Otherwise it comes out dry and chalky. The steak, on the other hand, is very forgiving. I have cooked pork steak to 175 Fahrenheit, way beyond well done, and it was still somewhat juicy and flavorful. You try doing that to a pork chop and you will have difficulty getting it down. A well-cooked pork steak is juicy, bursting with flavor, and a perfect canvas for experimentation. With that, I will get into the weeknight version of this recipe. This starts with your pork steak and a frozen vegetable. I like to use broccoli florets, but frozen green beans, asparagus, or Brussels sprouts would work as well. For an absolutely delicious meal, you just need 3 spices: salt, pepper, and garlic powder. It is impossible to go wrong with this combo for any meat and green vegetable, and this is no exception. But what's great about pork steak and broccoli is that you can add almost any combination of spices and get something edible in the end. It is amazing for experimenting. I like to add, for example, cumin and chili powder for a more Mexican-inspired flavor. How about smoked paprika and turmeric? Or, some nights when I'm feeling especially lazy, I'll just toss on a bunch of lemon pepper and salt and be done. This really is the dish for you to get a feel for your spices and how they work together. I can, and have, eaten nothing but pork steak for a week and enjoyed a delicious, unique tasting meal every night. Anyway, once you have decided your spices, add them to both sides of the pork steak. I'm just eyeballing it. Once again, this cut is very forgiving, so don't worry too much about over-spicing it. Once done, set the steak aside and wash your hands. For the broccoli, I just put a cup or 2 in a bowl, drizzle on a little olive oil, and add in my spices. Broccoli is also very forgiving to spices, so just add as much as feels right. Just toss the frozen broccoli to get the spices somewhat mixed, and take the bowl to your awaiting air fryer. At this point, I just toss the broccoli in the air fryer for now. Don't turn it on just yet. If you don't have an air fryer, you can place the broccoli on a baking sheet in a preheated 450-degree oven. It will take longer than the air fryer, so get it started now if you don't have an air fryer or are making a lot of broccoli. At this point, take your frying pan, I'm using cast iron though you could use any skillet you have, and add a couple tablespoons of oil to the bottom of the pan, enough to coat the bottom. You need a lot of oil to ensure the entire thing gets even heat. This is a rather uneven piece of meat. Get that oil heated on medium heat. After a minute or 2, your oil should be shimmering, and you may see small wisps of smoke. At this point, set your air fryer for 15 minutes on 425. If you play your cards right, it should be ready right when the steak is. Lay the steak into the hot oil. It should be aggressively sizzling but not sputtering. If it starts sputtering or worse, burning, turn down the heat to medium or medium-low for a bit to get the temperature down. After a minute or so, flip it, and repeat until the steak registers 145 in the thickest part. These days, American pork is considered safe to eat by the USDA at 145 degrees Fahrenheit, pink in the middle. I hope to talk more about why this is in an upcoming video. If the steak has a large fat cap, I like to spend a minute or two searing it to help make it crispy and delicious. If you think that's gross, I would point out that that is essentially all bacon is, crispy pork fat. Once done, just toss the steak on a plate and cover it with foil. At this point, you could check on the broccoli and give it a shake to help it cook evenly. Or you could just let it sit and let the tops get super dark and crunchy, which is great too. Just pull the broccoli when it's at the point you'd like. This batch was cooking for maybe 10 minutes, but you could let it go for the full 15 for completely cooked broccoli. And here is the completed product, from the fridge to the table in like 20 minutes. And look, as a bonus, it also happens to be keto and gluten-free. Now that is a tasty, filling meal. But if you want this steak to really taste like steak, you have to grill it. For that, I just take my pork steaks and place them on a baking sheet. Dab a little olive oil on each steak and add whatever spices you want to each dab. Once again, I'm using salt, pepper, and garlic powder. I'm using this method to help me gauge how much spice I will need. From here, I just smush the steaks around until that spice mixture and olive oil evenly covers them. This also works for pork chops, by the way, or really any type of meat. It really helps to visualize how much spice you are adding to the meat. Once that is done, we can take them out to the grill. Now, it was about 10 degrees Fahrenheit when I filmed this, so I needed to preheat the grill for about 30 minutes to let those grates get nice and hot. But once it's roaring hot, just toss the steaks on and just let them cook about 2 minutes aside, keeping the grill closed as much as possible. These will cook very quickly, so start checking temperatures soon after the first flip. Once again, I'm looking for about 145 Fahrenheit. Here, I let them get a little higher, about 150, but that's not a big deal. And here is the grilled pork steak. This is my favorite way to cook this cut. The weirdest thing is that when you cook it on the grill, it doesn't taste like pork. My family will attest, if you close your eyes, add a little bit of steak sauce, you'll have a difficult time discerning between this and a decent beef steak. Only, I can eat 4 of these for the price of 1 New York strip or ribeye. That fact has absolutely killed other steaks for me, though, of course, your mileage may vary. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching, and look forward to next week where I show you how to cook perfect weeknight chicken thighs every time.